November 2024. Heavy rain floods the circuit at Interlagos, so intense that even broadcast cameras struggle to follow the cars. Visibility collapses, grip disappears. The Sao Paulo Grand Prix becomes a survival test rather than a race. And from 17th on the grid, Max Verstappen launches forward. By the end of the opening lap, 6 cars are already behind him. 3 of those overtakes happen at the Senna S, a corner named after a man whose shadow still hangs over every wet weather masterpiece in this sport. In pit lanes across the circuit, team principals stop talking, engineers stop typing. Everyone is watching the same thing. This doesn't look like modern Formula One. It looks like history repeating itself. Verstappen isn't fighting the track, he's flowing through it. While others tiptoe on survival lines, he attacks unconventional parts of the asphalt. The car moves, the rear steps out, and yet everything stays controlled. By the time the race settles, the result feels inevitable. Verstappen wins by nearly 20 seconds. Not from pole, not with strategy luck, but through relentless forward motion in conditions where most drivers are simply trying to stay on the road. Immediately, comparisons begin. Not from fans first, but from inside the paddock. Veteran engineers, former drivers, people who were there decades ago. They all think the same name: Ayrton Senna. 30 years separate them. One is a legend frozen in time. The other is actively rewriting record books. But the question forms almost automatically. If Senna were watching this race, what would he think? To answer that, you don't start with Verstappen. You start with Senna himself and how he understood racing at its most fundamental level. Because for Senna, driving wasn't about speed alone. It was something far deeper and far more dangerous. For Ayrton Senna, Formula One was never just a competition. It was a confrontation with the edge of possibility. That belief was never clearer than in qualifying at Monaco Grand Prix in 1988. Driving for McLaren, Senna outqualified his teammate by an astonishing margin, over a second, on a circuit where hundredths usually decide pole. Afterward, he struggled to explain what had happened. Senna described entering a trance-like state. He said he was no longer consciously driving. The circuit narrowed into a tunnel. Corners arrived automatically. Speed appeared from places it shouldn't exist. He wasn't searching for the limit, he had gone past it. That description became central to how people understood him. Senna didn't see the limit as a wall. He saw it as a doorway. Push hard enough and it would open. That philosophy defined everything, including his most controversial moments. His famous quote still echoes across the sport: "If you no longer go for a gap that exists, you are no longer a racing driver." To some, that was courage. To others, recklessness. It justified his clashes with Alain Prost at Suzuka. It explained his refusal to yield, even when championships were on the line. Senna understood the contradiction. He knew he was both untouchable and fragile at the same time. You know how it is in Formula One. Sometimes it feels like results change when support gets louder. So, if you're backing Max Verstappen this season, hit subscribe. Let's see if the luck follows. Now back to the topic. And yet, he never stepped away from that tension. He lived inside it. What's important is this: Senna didn't believe in half measures. He believed racing demanded total commitment, physical, mental, and spiritual. That worldview shaped how an entire generation judged greatness, which is why, decades later, comparisons to Senna are never made lightly. Most drivers are dismissed immediately. The gap is too wide. But Verstappen is different. And the people who say it aren't internet commentators. They're the ones who knew Senna personally. Because the Senna-Verstappen comparison didn't start online. It started inside the garages. For nearly 3 decades, one former McLaren driver defended Senna's place at the top of Formula One's hierarchy. Gerhard Berger raced alongside Senna. He saw the data. He felt the difference. For years, he insisted that no one had truly matched Senna's level. Then, in early 2024, Berger changed his mind publicly. He stated that Verstappen had surpassed Senna in one crucial area: consistency under pressure. Senna, he said, could make mistakes. Verstappen, remarkably, almost never does. That comment sent shockwaves through the paddock. Others echoed it quietly. Martin Brundle, who raced Senna and later analyzed Verstappen, identified the same psychological element. Both drivers force rivals into errors before the corner even arrives. The battle is often lost mentally before it's fought on track. Then there is the most telling voice of all: Adrian Newey, the only engineer to design championship-winning cars for both Senna and Verstappen. Across 4 decades, Newey has worked with nearly every great driver of the modern era. He names only 2 as truly separate from the rest: Senna, Verstappen. Not Schumacher, not Hamilton, just those 2. Even Prost, Senna's greatest rival, acknowledged the similarities, while pointing out the key difference. Verstappen, he said, found his own path, his own method, his own way of being fast. That distinction matters, because Verstappen is not Senna reborn. He is something new, shaped by a different era. And nowhere is that difference clearer than when the rain begins to fall. Senna's most famous wet weather drive came at Donington Park in 1993. In just over a minute, he went from 5th to 1st in a monsoon, a lap still considered the greatest in Formula One history. Verstappen's charge at Interlagos in 2024 immediately drew parallels. The conditions were similar, the dominance unmistakable, but the eras could not be more different. Quick question for you. Do you believe fan support actually matters in Formula One, or is it all decided before the lights even go out? Tell me what you think. I'll reply to as many comments as I can. Senna raced at a time when danger was ever present. Fatal accidents were part of the sport's reality. He lost friends. He felt the risk every weekend. His focus was sharpened by mortality. Verstappen races in the safest era Formula One has ever known. The halo, survival cells, medical response, all things Senna never had. That doesn't diminish Verstappen. It contextualizes him. What's remarkable is that despite those differences, the driving instinct looks eerily familiar. The same ability to find grip where none should exist. The same refusal to back out. The same confidence in chaos. Yet the source is different. Senna spoke of faith and transcendence. Verstappen speaks of data, preparation, simulation. One looked inward, the other looks at screens. Different paths, same outcome. Which brings us back to the question that started all of this. So what would Ayrton Senna think of Max Verstappen? He would not see a copy. He would not see an imitation. He would recognize something far more important: the same uncompromising refusal to accept second place. Senna believed that before being a racing driver, you had to become a man, someone willing to commit fully, without excuses. Verstappen, by every measure, has done that. But Senna would also notice the differences. He would see a driver shaped by safety, not danger, preparation, not prayer, control, not transcendence, and he would respect it, because Senna never demanded drivers follow his path. He demanded they give everything they had. Verstappen does. That's why this comparison endures. Not because Verstappen is the next Senna, but because, like Senna before him, he is irreducibly himself. And 30 years from now, another generation may ask the same question: who reminds you of Max Verstappen? If you think Bahrain testing was calm, there's a story you probably missed. In Max Verstappen's Bahrain test was more dangerous than it looked, we break down the moments that didn't make headlines: unstable rear behavior, hidden balance risks, and why Max Verstappen was pushing a car that wasn't as settled as it appeared. On paper, everything looked controlled. In reality, the margins were far thinner than most teams expected. That video shows why those hidden risks matter far more than lap times, especially heading into a regulation reset.